Bit of a disaster today. U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit said, yeah, net neutrality, not so much. Now, what is net neutrality? It is the idea that the carriers that bring you the internet, such as Verizon, shouldn't be allowed to discriminate against different websites or content providers. Because if they can, well, number one, they can give themselves an enormous advantage. And number two, they could take political action to, for example, if you were doing an article that was critical of Verizon. Well, look at that, your website's so slow. That's a shame, right? Now, do these carriers have a legitimate beef? I think they do, actually. So it's not the easiest issue in the world. So for example, if you're Verizon and you built the pipes that bring the internet to your house, and all of a sudden Netflix takes up 50% of those pipes and makes a ton of money, taking up those pipes, and you can't charge them anymore than you would Bob in his home, relatively obviously, right? Well, I can see how Verizon would be pissed about that. I think that we should find a solution to that. But getting rid of net neutrality is not the solution, because that then gives the Verizons of the world, and Verizon is the one that brought this case, tremendous power. So let me read you a description of what they can do here so you get a context. This is from Reuters. Quote, the eventual outcome of the dispute may determine whether internet providers can restrict some content by, for instance, blocking or slowing down access to particular sites or charging websites to deliver their content faster. So if you're Netflix, that might be a huge issue for you, and Verizon might say, hey, you know what, I kind of like your Netflix business. I'll call it Verizon Flix and make mine super fast and yours so slow that no one can actually watch anything off of Netflix. Sad day, it was nice knowing you, you're out of business. That's a problem. Okay, but like I said, the much bigger problem is, I didn't like what you said about Verizon or any of the politicians that we gave legalized bribes to do our bidding. Oh, look at that, it's so hard getting on Huffington Post. No, you hang on there for 35 minutes and you might get to read an article or two. As an example, you want to give them that kind of power? That's a terrible idea. Now, this circuit court apparently went in that direction. It is not over. The FCC can appeal their decision on their power to regulate on this issue all the way up to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court is also conservative. Plus, it's not even clear that the FCC is going to do that. FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler at some point said that we need a two-sided market, which seemed to signal his openness to charging more to some companies so that the Verizon of the world could, get their way in other ways. Now look, like I said, it is a real issue, so he might be on the level here, and he says, look, he's a total supporter of the open internet. Is that true? Who knows? The Democrats appoint so many corporatists, it's nearly impossible to keep up, right? So we'll have to see and we'll judge Tom Wheeler by his actions. Should he appeal this to the Supreme Court? Absolutely. Will we win in the Supreme Court? I don't know. All they ever do is hand down pro-corporate decisions, right? So every once in a while you get a decision that says, yes, Obamacare can continue. But remember what Obamacare said. We must buy insurance from private corporations. So that wasn't anti-corporate either. Citizens United, that said corporations can give unlimited money into the political system. So we're in a little bit of trouble here. If a few companies that have those pipes can control what we watch or read on the internet, that's about as bad as news as you could possibly get.